The UFC's lightweight division is regarded by many as the promotion's most talent-stacked division. With 11 champions since the title was put on the line for the first time in 2001, the weight class has seen some of the biggest title fights in UFC history. These are the 11 champions of the UFC's 155-pound division ranked from worst to best. Number 11. Sherk. After its first-ever holder vacated the belt, the lightweight title remained dormant for several years, until it was put on the line at UFC 64 in 2006. Defeating Kenny Florian via unanimous decision, Sherk's title run technically kicked off the lightweight division that we know today, though his reign wasn't exactly draped in glory. In his first title defense against Hermes Franca, Sherk won another decision, but tested positive after the fight for steroids. He was stripped of the title, leaving it vacant for two new contenders. When Sherk returned in 2008, he was given a title rematch right away with the current champion, Penn, but he failed to regain what was once his. Number 10. Alvarez. The Underground King's move to the UFC as Bellator's lightweight champion was a huge moment in MMA. Though his UFC career started with a bit of a bump, losing to Donald Cowboy Cerrone, Alvarez went on to win back-to-back split decisions over Gilbert Melendez and Anthony Pettis, finding himself next in line for a title shot. With an incredible performance against Rafael dos Anjos, Alvarez won the title in the very first round. His title reign would be short-lived though, with the fewest days as lightweight champion out of everyone on this list. Just 128 days into his reign, Alvarez would become a part of history for all the wrong reasons, after he was stopped by Conor McGregor at UFC 205, who became the first man in UFC history to hold two titles simultaneously. Number 9. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's title win at UFC 205 to become the first ever double champ was historic and will forever be one of MMA's biggest moments. After completing everything he had set out to do in the sport, McGregor was in no rush to return to the octagon, and this led to him being stripped of the title due to inactivity. Despite holding the title for over 500 days, McGregor never attempted to defend it, though he would return once the belt changed hands to a rival of his. Number 8. Anthony Pettis. After winning the WEC lightweight title against Benson Henderson on their last ever event, Pettis was one of the biggest additions to the UFC roster when the WEC was merged. After a loss to Clay Guida, Pettis regained his momentum that led him to beating Henderson once again, this time for the UFC belt. A first-round submission over Henderson at UFC 164 saw Pettis capture the lightweight title and prove himself as the future of the division. A title defense under his belt against Gilbert Melendez had Pettis flying high as one of the UFC's best stars. However, this all came tumbling down at UFC 185 when he was shut down by Rafael dos Anjos. Despite adding some more career highlights, Pettis was never able to reclaim UFC gold despite competing in several weight classes. Number 7. Rafael dos Anjos. RDA's dominant victory over Anthony Pettis was easily one of the most impressive performances of his career. His first title defense came against fan favorite Donald Cerrone in 2015, where he stopped him with a first-round body kick, putting a statement out there to the rest of the division. A huge title fight with Conor McGregor was scheduled in 2016, but unfortunately never took place due to an injury from dos Anjos. Instead, RDA's second title defense would come against Alvarez, which he lost in the opening round. The weight cut to 155 had been RDA's biggest issue at lightweight, and he would eventually move up to welterweight where he challenged for the interim title before moving back down to 155 in recent years. Number 6. Jens Pulver. In 2001 at UFC 30, Jens Pulver would become the inaugural UFC lightweight champion after defeating Caol Uno. From there, Pulver picked up two title defenses over Dennis Hallman and future champion Penn, before contract disagreements with the UFC would see him leave the promotion and his belt behind. He returned to the UFC in 2006. Unfortunately, he would never challenge for the UFC title again, but he did face Uriah Faber for the WEC featherweight title in 2008. Number 5. Charles Oliveira. Becoming the lightweight champion in his 28th UFC fight, the most it's ever taken a fighter to win UFC gold, Charles Oliveira's career path has been one of the greatest stories in MMA. The record holder for most finishes in the octagon took his legacy in the sport to whole new levels in 2021, when he upset the odds twice, beating Michael Chandler to win the vacant title and stopping Dustin Poirier in his first title defense. With a second and third round finish after coming into both fights as the underdog, Oliveira solidified himself as the current king of the lightweights. But with contenders like Justin Gaethje and Islam Makhachev on his doorstep, who knows how long Oliveira can keep this incredible run going for. Number 4. Benson Henderson. After losing his WEC title to Anthony Pettis in 2010, Henderson was able to beat Pettis to the UFC gold. Picking up 2 wins in the UFC immediately, he was put into a title eliminator with Clay Guida, after Guida had caused an upset over Pettis a few months prior. At UFC 144, Henderson defeated Frankie Edgar to become the lightweight champion and defended it in a rematch. His well-rounded style made him incredibly tough to deal with, regardless of the opponent, and he notched 2 more title defenses over Nate Diaz and Gilbert Melendez. However, the same man who had taken his WEC title made his way to another shot at Henderson, and this time Pettis got the job done with a first-round submission. Henderson would then go 4-2 in the UFC before leaving the promotion for Bellator, where he still competes today. Number 3. Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar is one of the staples of the UFC's roster, and his run at lightweight is a classic timeline in the sport. His 4 back-to-back wins in lightweight title fights before losing twice to Benson Henderson are some of the most significant title bouts in the promotion's history. After defeating the all-time great Penn at UFC 112, and then securing a second win over him in their rematch, UFC 125 produced one of the greatest title fights in MMA history. Defending his belt in a rematch with Gray Maynard after their first fight in 2008, Edgar solidified his status as a fan favorite, coming back from the brink of defeat to salvage a draw and retain his title. Of course, Edgar's reign would have been in question if he hadn't closed out his trilogy with Maynard in their next fight via knockout. Though Edgar would move down a weight class and challenged for the featherweight title 3 times, coming up short in all 3, it's his run as lightweight champion that has made Edgar an undoubtable Hall of Famer. Number 2. Penn. Regarded by Dana White himself as the man that built the lightweight division by making it a must-watch weight class, Penn was one of the first inductees into the modern-era wing of the UFC Hall of Fame. Penn made his pro debut in the UFC and actually lost his first title shot to Jens Pulver in his 4th Octagon appearance. He would fight elsewhere for a brief period of time and also at various weight classes in the UFC, before returning to lightweight to earn his revenge on Jens Pulver, which set him up for a vacant title fight against Joe Stevenson in 2008. Beating Stevenson at UFC 80 to finally win the gold, Penn would be the first lightweight champion to defend his crown 3 consecutive times, with wins over Sean Sherk, Kenny Florian, and Diego Sanchez, as well as a welterweight title bout with George St. Pierre in 2009. Penn became a legitimate star in the UFC. With all of his defenses coming via finish, Penn was largely responsible for putting the lightweights on the map, before losing to Frankie Edgar in 2010. Following 2 losses to Edgar, the prodigy was never able to regain his previous form, and would go 1-7-1 in his remaining UFC bouts. Number 1. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Arguably the most dominant fighter the UFC has ever seen, Khabib's 29-0 record saw him take over the lightweight division, run through its contenders, and leave the sport at the very top. Injuries, fight cancellations, and a certain notorious Irishman meant that Khabib's road to UFC gold took longer than expected. But at UFC 223, he finally got his wish. Defeating late-notice replacement Al Iaquinta in Brooklyn, Khabib's coronation was finally complete. There was no first title defense that made sense, other than the rival Khabib had been chasing, the UFC's biggest star and former lightweight champion Conor McGregor. The biggest fight in UFC history went down at UFC 229, as Khabib retained his title by submitting his rival in the 4th round. At 27-0, Khabib's last 2 fights came against the best lightweights in the world at the time, Dustin Poirier at UFC 242 and Justin Gaethje at UFC 254. Winning both fights via submission, Khabib retired in the octagon at UFC 254 after the passing of his father and head coach Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. 3 title defenses against elite opposition, going undefeated through his whole career, and vacating the title as the best fighter in the sport not only made Khabib one of the all-time greats, but also the best lightweight champion to ever grace the octagon. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.